Alright, so let me tell you what's going on with Tesla and their battery supplier Panasonic. Because it's actually a pretty interesting story. And it says a lot about where electric cars are headed in the US right now. Picture this. Tesla's out here making electric cars as fast as they can, right? They've got this huge demand, especially with more people in the US finally hopping on the EV train. But, as you might guess, to keep those cars rolling off the line, they need a ton of batteries. And not just any batteries. We were talking about the high-tech stuff that makes Teslas go farther and charge faster. That's where Panasonic comes in. These guys are like Tesla's go-to for batteries, almost like that one friend you always count on for rides to the airport. Now here's where things get spicy. Tesla's basically telling Panasonic, hey, we need you to hurry up and get your new battery plant in Kansas up and running. Like, yesterday. Seriously, they're putting on the pressure. And you can kind of understand why. Tesla's got this big push to build more of their batteries right here in the US, which is a big deal for a bunch of reasons. Some of them obvious, some a little more behind the scenes. Let's break it down. First off, there's the whole global trade thing. You've probably heard about all the back and forth between the US and China, right? Tariffs, trade wars, all that. Even though things have calmed down a bit lately, those tariffs on electric vehicle batteries haven't really budged. So if Tesla wants to avoid paying extra and keep their cars affordable, or at least as affordable as a Tesla gets, it just makes sense to make more batteries at home. Plus, there's this whole Made in America vibe that's getting stronger. People want to know that what they're buying is supporting jobs here, not just being shipped in from overseas. And Tesla's leaning into that hard. In fact, as of early this year, every single Model Y and Model 3 delivered in the US is rolling out with a battery pack that's 100% made in the States. That's a big deal, not just for bragging rights, but for cutting through a lot of the red tape that comes with importing stuff. But here's the catch. Building a battery factory isn't like flipping a switch. It takes time, a ton of money, and a lot of know-how. Panasonic's been working on this new plant in Kansas since 2022, and it's supposed to be a game changer. Once it's fully up and running, it could boost Tesla's US battery production by something like 60% by 2027. That's massive. But as you can imagine, Tesla's not exactly the most patient customer. They're basically calling up Panasonic and saying, hey, can you move a little faster? We need those batteries like now. And Panasonic's CEO, Yuki Kusumi, has actually talked about this publicly. He admitted that Tesla's really pushing them to speed things up. But he's also being pretty real about the risks. Rushing a project like this can mean mistakes, or things not working as smoothly as they should. Still, Panasonic knows Tesla is their biggest customer, so they're trying to find that balance between moving fast and not cutting corners. Now, if you read into this kind of behind-the-scenes stuff about how the tech we use actually gets made, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm always digging into these stories, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Back to the story. There's another layer here that's super interesting. Tesla isn't just relying on Panasonic. They're actually working on this whole strategy to make their supply chain as local and as resilient as possible. Think of it like building a really solid foundation for a house. They're not just buying batteries from one place and hoping for the best. They're setting up deals with multiple suppliers, investing in their own battery tech, and even getting into the business of refining the raw materials they need, like lithium. It's all about making sure that, no matter what happens in the world, whether it's a trade war, a pandemic, or just some random shipping delay, they can keep building cars. And this isn't just about Tesla. The whole industry is watching what they do. If Tesla figures out how to make all their batteries in the US, you better believe Ford, GM, and everyone else is going to follow suit. It's like when someone figures out a shortcut on your morning commute. Suddenly everyone's taking that route. But let's not make it sound too easy. Panasonic's got their own challenges. They've actually had to slow down plans for a third US battery plant, because believe it or not, EV demand cooled off a bit recently. People are still buying electric cars, but not at the crazy pace some folks were predicting a couple of years ago. So Panasonic is trying to be smart. They want to make sure they're not building more factories than they need. At the same time, they know that if they drag their feet too much, Tesla might just take their business somewhere else. It's a tricky dance. And then there's the Kansas plant itself. Once it's up and running, it's going to be a huge asset for both Panasonic and Tesla. It'll mean more jobs in the US, more batteries for Tesla's cars, and probably even some bragging rights for Kansas. Not exactly the first place you think of when you hear cutting-edge tech, right? But hey, times are changing. What's wild is how much of this comes down to timing. If Panasonic can get this plant running quickly and smoothly, they'll have a lock on Tesla's business for years. If not, well, Tesla's already shown they're willing to invest in their own battery factories, like the one they've got in Texas. It's almost like a race. Who can get there first and who can do it better? And you know, this whole thing is kind of a microcosm of what's happening in the US manufacturing scene right now. For years, a lot of stuff was made overseas because it was cheaper. But now, with all the uncertainty in global trade, companies are starting to realize that having your supply chain closer to home is worth paying a little extra. It's about control, reliability, and being able to respond quickly when things change. I think what's really cool about this story is how it shows the push and pull between innovation and practicality. Tesla's always been the company that wants to move fast and break things. But when it comes to building a supply chain, you can't just snap your fingers and make it happen. You need partners like Panasonic who know how to scale up production, manage risks, and deliver the goods. But you also need that sense of urgency, that drive to keep pushing forward, even when it's tough. And honestly, it's kind of exciting to see this play out in real time. We're watching the future of transportation being built, piece by piece, factory by factory. The decisions these companies are making today are going to shape what cars look like, how much they cost, and where they're made for years to come. So, next time you see a Tesla cruising down the highway, think about all the moving parts, not just the wheels and the battery, but the people, the factories, and the behind-the-scenes negotiations that make it all possible. It's a lot more complex than just plugging in a car and hitting the road. And who knows? Maybe in a few years when electric cars are everywhere and battery factories are popping up all over the US, we all look back at this moment as the turning point. The time when American manufacturing started making a real comeback, powered by the need for cleaner, smarter transportation. Anyway, that's the scoop on Tesla and Panasonic. If you found this interesting, stick around. There is always more going on in the world of tech and innovation than meets the eye. And hey, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Thanks for hanging out and listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.